day, everyone. A warm welcome. It's great to see so many familiar faces and names. It's great that you can join us for the Skillsgrid webinar today. As with always, the first part of the webinar, we'll share some thinking and some rationale behind the development of the Skillsgrid, as also the benefits to using Skillsgrid in your business. And then the second half of the webinar will be a live demonstration of the system, which Suzanne Conradi, our General Manager at Shadowmatch, will take you through. You are currently on mute. If you do have questions during the course of the webinar, please just pop your question in the chat. One of the Shadowmatch team members will answer your question. Towards the end of the webinar, again, as always, we will allow you to unmute yourself and then ask the questions live. Alternatively, you can still just pop your question in the chat, and then Suzanne or I will pose your question to the rest of the audience, and we will then also answer your question. So great, ladies and gentlemen, let's start. Let me just share my screen. Suzanne, can you see my screen? Thank you very much. So ladies and gentlemen, Skillsgrid, that's the purpose of the webinar today. Let me just get my faces out of the way. So our discussion points for today, we're going to look at the definition of a skill, the theory of skills in the workplace, relevance of skills in the workplace, skills and workplace success, benefits of using Skillsgrid in a business, and then lastly, and I think this is the most important part of the webinar, will be the Skillsgrid demonstration. So the definition of a skill, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is defined as the ability to do something well or a particular ability or type of ability. A skill would be like playing a musical instrument, flying an aeroplane, driving an 18-wheeler truck. So that's the ability to do something, to execute. And then it's also defined in the dictionary as the ability to do something well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the theory of skills in the workplace, I would like to share a video with you. Most of you have probably seen this video in one of our previous webinars, but I think it's quite important also for today's webinar. So let me share my video and then we'll continue with the conversation.
In this video, I want to explain the 3 critical components for success in the workplace. The Shadowmatch team refers to these components as I know, I can, I fit. The first component, I know, is all about the knowledge necessary to do the job. Knowledge refers to theoretical knowledge, information, and the understanding of how things work and how it is done. This will include product knowledge, process knowledge, technical know-how, general business knowledge, and so forth. The second component, I can, is about the physical skills necessary to successfully do the job on an execution or practical level. A skill is the term used to refer to the physical execution of the task in a smooth and successful manner. It is in relation to this aspect that Skillsgrid is used. The third component is the I fit part of a job. This is about employee workplace compatibility. This is probably the most challenging aspect of the 3. The question is, does the behavioral patterns of the employee meet the behavioral expectation of the working environment? It is in this area where Shadowmatch is used with great success. I will now explain the above by means of a few examples. A medical doctor has the knowledge to do the job because he completed his qualification to practice as a doctor. Through his years of study, he acquired the physical skills to work as an emergency medical practitioner. Will he be able to practice his profession as a doctor on an oil rig in a very remote area? This will all depend on whether his behavioral patterns function positively in the environment. Shadowmatch is used extensively to answer this question. Let me give you a second example. A musician has the knowledge to read and understand sheet music and the skill to play the piano. Does this mean that all pianists will be equally good at teaching music to kids at a nursery school? No. For this job, a specific and unique combination of habits are necessary. Remember, people are successful and become competent in what they do when they have the knowledge, the skill to execute the task, and the behavioral patterns that fit the environment where the job needs to be done. Shadowmatch and Skillsgrid can assist in ensuring success for all.
Great, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to the presentation. So as with the video, you've seen that 3 things are very important for success in the workplace. Firstly, the knowledge. Do I know how to do my job? Secondly, skills. Can I physically execute the task? Can I do this job? And then thirdly, do I fit the working environment, the culture, my team? So I'm going to start at the bottom. Fit is determined by, and we use shadow match to determine fit. Most of you are familiar with shadow match. Shadow match says, does this individual fit my working environment, fit the context, fit the culture, fit the dynamics of the team? The I can, we use Skillsgrid for, and that's the purpose of today's discussion, and that's what Susanne is going to take us through. What does Skillsgrid do, and how does that help us to determine the I can bit of an individual in the working environment? And then thirdly, I know. Now, I know I've mentioned this before, but with research done on people that have resigned in a business, it shows that 70% of the reason for the resignation is related to a misfit in the job. Only 20% of the reason for the resignation and the failure in that job is because of not having the skills or a misfit on the skills. And 10% is the reason for, or 10% of it is I didn't have the knowledge. I wasn't equipped with the correct knowledge to do my job or to execute the task. Now we have looked at the fit, which is 70% of the reasons why people actually fail. Today we're going to focus on the I can bit, the Skillsgrid part. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what's the relevance of skills in the workplace? And you can see that I've used a key on the left side of the slide, and that you will see later when Susanne goes into the Skillsgrid system. That's the relevance of skills in the workplace. Firstly, we've got critical skills. Now, in a specific job, in a specific task, there are skills that are critical. The person doing the job cannot succeed without that specific skill. There are many examples. A pilot cannot fly a specific aeroplane if they don't have the skill and the license, and if they are not authorized to fly that plane. A truck driver cannot drive an 18-wheeler truck if they are not critically skilled to drive that truck. They need specific skills to drive that truck. A programmer cannot program if they don't have critical skills. So a critical skill in the workplace is a skill. Without that skill, the individual cannot succeed doing that job. Then we've got important skills. Now, without an important skill, the individual will struggle to become a top performer. Critical skill says, I cannot do the job without this skill. If I don't have the important skill, I will probably still be able to do the job. However, I'm not going to rise above the rest. I will probably not become the best in what I do. Although it's an important skill for the job, it's not critical. Then we've got helpful skills. Now, a helpful skill is the definition, and we describe a helpful skill as this skill. If you have this skill in your job, it will increase your efficiencies. It will help you to become more productive. It will help you to perform optimally. It's not a necessary skill. It's not critical and it's not important. It's a helpful skill in the job. And I will explain by means of a few examples. And then lastly, on our relevance of skills in the workplace, we also look at which skills are not needed for the job. Stupid example, if I'm a programmer programming for APSA, programming the online banking system for a bank, then I don't need musical skills. It's not needed for my success in this job, but there are critical skills, there are important skills and helpful skills that will help me perform optimally in this job. And then lastly, and this we do not measure with Skillsgrid, but it's quite important to mention this, is there are unexpected skills in the workplace as well. We didn't expect this, is the terminology I used. Ladies and gentlemen, very often we as the manager or the HR person, or even sometimes a line manager think, I know what the skills are necessary to be successful in this job. I challenge that. I'm going to use an example. If we think about a personal administrator or a personal assistant, a PA, personal assistant, we all have a picture, and probably a picture in a little box of a personal assistant, because most of us currently work in a corporate environment, or we've worked in corporate environments previously. So our picture in our mind is a personal assistant to an executive in a corporate environment. We must be very careful to say we know what the skills are that is needed for a PA to be successful. Because the question is it a PA to an executive in the bank? Is it a PA to the workshop manager where they do workshop and car repairs, where they do panel beating? Is it the PA to a medical doctor in a doctor's practice? Is it the PA to a headmaster or principal at a school? Those are 4 very different roles. We cannot assume that the same skills are necessary for each of these PA roles. That's why it is so dangerous to say, I know what skills are necessary, let me create the skills profile. Ladies and gentlemen, in Skillsgrid, you have the ability and you are able to create a skills profile. A manager, HR person, a line manager, even a consultant will be able to create a skills profile. We do not recommend that. You can create that skills profile only if there's nobody currently in the job doing that and executing those skills, or if it's a new role where you've never had that specific role in your business and you need to create a profile just to kick off your process of recruiting people or promoting people into that role. For the rest of it, we say use your top performers to create that benchmark. Workplace success with regards to skills is if we use the top performers and we create a skills benchmark. The same as with shadow match. Let the people who are currently doing the job, let them complete the Skillsgrid worksheet and let them indicate to the business what are the skills that we use on a daily basis to execute this task in an optimal manner, to perform successfully. So we want to use the top performers to show us and to tell us what are the necessary skills, which skills are critical, which skills are important, helpful, and not needed for success in this job. Now, if we have a top performer skills benchmark and we are recruiting for a job and we get a match, we are almost 100% certain of immediate success. Now, I just want to interrupt myself. If we have a match on Skillsgrid, it says this person will be able to execute the task and do the job just like my top performers do, because he or she has the necessary skills and the skills necessary for success in this job. That's the I can part of the 3 components of workplace success. If that individual that I'm recruiting is also a match on shadow match, it says, but this person also has the habits necessary for success. So that's my fit part of my 3 workplace success indicators. So I've got a match on Skillsgrid. I fit, I've got a match on shadow match. So I know the person will fit the context, the culture, the team dynamics, and. The only thing left now is the knowledge part. So now the only thing I need to do, I know the person will be able to do the job. I know they will fit in my environment. Now I only need to teach that person that 10%, my product, my business protocols, my business processes, and the uniqueness of my business environment. But ladies and gentlemen, if it's a mismatch, if I'm recruiting somebody into my environment and that person is not a match, that person does not have the skills of my top performers and the skills that have been indicated by the top performers as necessary and critical skills for the job, I run a few risks. Firstly, there's a big business risk. Let's say I've got a nurse, and that's why I chose this picture. I've got a nurse that I've sourced from a normal general ward in hospital. I've got a shortage in ICU, and I place this nurse in ICU, but she's not trained on the equipment. She's not trained on how to deal with passengers and all the medicine and things that are administered in the ICU. And that nurse either does not operate the machine when she has to, or she administers something incorrectly, and it causes the death of a patient. It's a very big business risk. But it's also a very huge financial risk, because I might now be sued by the family members of that patient because I've placed somebody in a position where they did not have the skills. And there are many examples, ladies and gentlemen, maybe closer to home in the business environment. If I recruit a salesperson, but that person does not have the negotiation skills that my top performing salespeople have, the person does not have the selling skills and maybe also the presentation skills that my top performing salespeople have, it's immediately a business risk, because I'm going to pay that person, but they're not going to sell. Yes, it's a financial risk. Again, I'm paying that person, they're not selling. And ladies and gentlemen, skills are tough to teach. Yes, we can teach skills, But if we use the salesperson example, whilst I'm now training this person to negotiate, to do presentations, to communicate verbally, and, that person is not bringing in business. So it's a business risk because they are probably communicating with customers. Are they doing it correctly? Are they putting my reputation at risk? It's a financial risk because I'm paying that person, I'm paying for training, I'm paying for skills development. It's not reaping any rewards as yet. So we rather do not want to work with a mismatch. We rather want to say, let's be informed about the skills necessary for success in each of the roles in my business, so that when I recruit people, I recruit a match and I recruit people with the skills necessary for success in the workplace. Ladies and gentlemen, and then lastly, before I hand to Suzanne, the benefits of Skillsgrid for a business. Firstly, a business can do a skills audit. When you have everybody on Skillsgrid, you really push a button, you get an export, and immediately you have a full repository of all the skills in your business. So Skillsgrid allows you to say, with the people I already have in my business, what skills do I have? We don't know what skills those people have. And if I have that audit, I can immediately go back to Skillsgrid and say, but for this role in this division, I need a specific skill. Maybe I already have somebody internally with that skill. Then I don't have to source somebody from external. I can identify skills gap trends. So ladies and gentlemen, if we have our entire business on the system, Skillsgrid allows you to immediately, by the press of a button with your export, look at your skills, look at the benchmarks and identify trends, gap trends, so that I can say in a specific division, I've got 5 people that lack administrative skills. Let's source that training and let's put everybody on that training. So I can identify those gaps. I can do skills-based recruitment. We've covered that. I can make sure that when I recruit people, I recruit the people that match. And I might be looking for a specific skill that I don't have internally. When I have a Skillsgrid profile of an applicant, I can see whether that person actually matches that skill that I'm looking for in my business. I can identify skills development programs. Skillsgrid gives me the opportunity for each individual to see what are the skills development gaps. That links to supporting performance management interventions. If somebody's not performing optimally, yes, I want to see whether the person is a match to shadow match. Do they fit into my environment? Maybe they are a fit, but why are they not performing? Maybe there's a skills gap. And I can then support the performance of that individual because I now have knowledge and I can now say, but let's look at your match to the top performers. Aha, that's the critical skill that's missing. Let's start with development. Skillsgrid gives me the opportunity to host an updated skills register of all my employees. Every 6 months, an employee that is on Skillsgrid can go back to the system and capture their skills again. So if I've done development, that's the monitor skills development initiatives. If skills development have been done, the individual can go back into their Skillsgrid profile, they can update their skills, and I continuously have an updated skills register of all my employees. I can search and find people for a job where specific skills are necessary. Yes, before I go and search externally, let's search internally, because I can guarantee you we don't know of all the skills of our people, and we don't know at what level they are skilled. There's a seamless integration with ShadowMatch. Those of you that are currently using ShadowMatch, and Suzanne will demonstrate, you can actually seamlessly switch between ShadowMatch and Skillsgrid and use both systems simultaneously. And then lastly, there's an automated data export capability, and I'm sure Suzanne will demonstrate this as well. Once I've got everybody on Skillsgrid, ladies and gentlemen, and the completion of a Skillsgrid worksheet takes more or less 10 minutes. So it's really not a big deal to get everybody in the business to complete Skillsgrid, have everybody on the system, press a button, and I get that data export. And now I can start working with that export to identify gaps, look at development opportunities, support people that are currently not performing in the workplace. So ladies and gentlemen, that's a little bit of theory. I don't want to spend more time. I'm now going to hand to Suzanne. Suzanne, thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There you are, and I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lizette. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome and great to have all of you back if you joined us for a previous webinar. So without further ado, let me jump into this system. Just as a standard introduction, I will always be using fictitious data in a fictitious company. I'm going to be logged in as a system administrator of a shadow match company. So everything I'm doing on my side, you will be able to do live and interactively on your side. Okay, let me start sharing my screen. There we go. Currently logged in to company 123 today. Same as with shadow match, the company creates their structure on the system according to their layout. So within company 123, they have a few roles here, everything from admin all the way to sales. Now, this is something you set up according to your unique structure of your organization. It's very nice and easy, and you can create levels to fit your unique organogram. For today's company, we're just using a few roles. The first thing I want to show you is step 1 to say, let me invite someone to complete the worksheet that I can get the data onto my system. So I go into the specific file where I want that result to be. Today I'm using sales. Then I choose this option here, either on my right main screen, send invites, or I can access it from my left main menu, this option here, send invites. Takes me to exactly the same screen. On this screen, I have quick and easy options. The first one is if I'm just inviting an individual or a few individuals to complete the worksheet, I choose this option, and all I need to do is complete their details. So let's just put in a fictitious name here. In the email address, let me just put in my email address that I receive it and not someone else out there. There we go. The only thing I need to decide here, is this individual applying for this position? Is this an internal employee of my company? Or is this individual a top performer in this position? Now, other than as in shadow match, with Skillsgrid, the benchmark individuals do receive an extra assessment or question at the end. So make certain that you know if the individual is one of your top performers, that you then choose the benchmark option here. Good news, no worries if you didn't do this at step 1. You'll always be able to edit it at the end, and we'll show you that later. But if you know at this stage, yes, I already know I want this individual to be marked as one of the top performers in the role, you can choose this option here. Otherwise, the applicable option to that individual. You will be notified if you select this box when the moment the person completes the worksheet, and you will be able to put in an additional message to say, please complete by Friday, 2 o'clock. The moment you click submit, that invitation is then sent to that individual's inbox, and they can then complete the worksheet. This is a nice option if you're working with few individuals. If you start working with a bit more, so we call it the bulk option, you can then choose this option here to say bulk send invites to individuals. Let's just quickly do that you can see how quick and easy it is. This option to either choose a file directly from my device, or this option to open the spreadsheet viewer. I'm going to choose that option. Now, all I need to do is copy and paste from my file or from my list of individuals and send them. Let me open up my list. In my spreadsheet, I have the name, the surname, and the email address of my staff members. I simply select, right-click, copy, and then if I go back to my screen, I paste it into my spreadsheet viewer. Let me paste it here. All the system needs to know is which column is which. So is my email in column C? Yes, there are the emails. First names in column A, last name in column B. So do you see, if you're now following me, if you want to do a skills audit of all of your employees, you can do it in bulk to say, guys, we need the skills in half an hour, upload those bulk spreadsheets, everybody gets the invitation immediately, everybody can access it on their side, and you have the data on your side the moment they complete. If I'm happy with what I've selected, I click submit, and off the bulk send goes, and all of those individuals receive the invite. Now today, I would like to show you what the worksheet looks like itself. For that, just quickly want to share a few thoughts with you from a slideshow. The Skillsgrid worksheet itself focuses on very diverse skills. This makes it possible to use within various environments. So everything from theatre and arts all the way through to corporate medicine and everything in between. What I'm showing you on my screen at this stage is the 5 headline skills areas the worksheet focuses on. And you will notice some of these words have numbers in brackets. What that means is we then measure specific sub-skills. We'll see what that looks like just now in our worksheet. But for that specific skill, the moment the individual selects that they are skilled in this area, a sub-skill question opens up to say, give me more information. I want to understand more about this skill than just your highest level. In each question, the individual will be asked to rate themselves according to a 5-level rating scale. Each level will have a unique description of what is meant by that level for that specific skill. I'll show you that live at this stage. For now, I just want to quickly chat about the 5 levels. So we started no or limited skill, then basic skilled, skilled, highly skilled, or expert. So the individual rates themselves. You will see there are a few ways that the system guides the individual to make sure the correct information is given. But other than Shadowmatch, it is a self-rated assessment. So let me just exit my slideshow. And then let's jump back in. And now let's go and see what a worksheet looks like. So I'm not a system administrator anymore. I'm now going to be the individual that was invited to complete the worksheet. So I'm Robert. I'm an employee within the company. I've been invited to complete the worksheet. Before this presentation, I just started the worksheet just for the purpose of our time. So I started the worksheet and I completed question 1 to question 6. Now you'll see the Skillsgrid worksheet is very easy. It's very quick to complete. You'll see it's skill 7 of 25. Each question then addresses one of those 25 skilled areas we just saw on the presentation. And each question will have this style here. So here we see the skill, the definition of that specific skill. So computer literacy, what do we mean by computer literacy? There is the definition. And then the 5 levels together with that unique explanation to say, if we focus thinking about computer literacy, what does no or limited skill mean? It means, no, I'm not computer literate. Basic skill, I struggle a bit, but I can use my computer to do everyday tasks. And it gets more intricate all the way to expert, where this individual is then, I'm an expert in computer literacy skills. So all I need to do is I need to mark my skill level. Now you will notice if I selected basic skill, that's all I need to submit for this question. But the questions that have that sub-skill measurement, the moment I select skill, highly skilled, or expert, it's saying, okay, whoa. If you're saying you're skilled in this area, give me the detail. So let's select highly skilled. Automatically, this is then opened, the sub-skill areas. And now it's asking me to please indicate your sub-skills applicable to which skill, computer literacy. And here we have specific areas that we then want the detail of. So let's say for Adobe Photoshop, I'm highly skilled, Excel basic, and. So the individual will then complete the detail according to those specific standard sub-skills. You'll see there's always an option to include other. So if there is something that they want to add to this list that isn't part of the standard list, they will be able to add it from their side. There's also an option for the company to set a custom sub-skill. So let's say you have a specific program that you use internally with all of your employees, and you want to capture that data standard, everybody that completes the skills grid within your company. You can set it up on the company side. We learn how to do that in a little while. And then it will be part of this list, and everybody completing the worksheet within your company receives that data. Once I've completed all of the data, I can click next. If what I submitted didn't match my highest level here, the skills grid assessment is going to prompt me and say, whoa. You're saying you're an expert, but I'm not seeing expert data. Let's see what this looks like. Our next skill, IT programming skill, follows the same format, the definition, the 5 levels with its unique description. Let's say I want to overrate myself and just say, you know what, I'm going to choose expert. That looks great on a CV. Fantastic. So I choose expert. Oh, okay. Whoa. Now it's asking me more. I've never done any coding or development or anything, but let's see what it's asking me. Please indicate your sub-skills. Now, everything on the screen is Greek to me. I have no idea what those symbols and things mean. So I don't know. None. I don't know. Maybe I've read that word somewhere. So basic. Do you see what I'm sketching here? Is if the individual it's not linked, that I'm actually an expert in this, and I don't submit any information yet to say, you know what, I'm an expert in SQL, I'm an expert in Java, and. If I then select next, the following message will appear to say, note, your IT programming skill levels will be adjusted upon completion of the worksheet based on the sub-skill data entered. If the individual completed it honestly to say, you know what, I am expert and I selected all of the areas that I am an expert in, I won't receive this message. It will be the same as I captured it. So from the worksheet side, there is an element of intelligence to say, this doesn't add up. Please give me the correct information, but the individual can capture the data as needed. Let's just do one last question. The next skill we're focusing on is management skill. Same format, we have that definition, the 5 levels, each with a unique description. With management skills, my sub-skills look a bit different. It's now asking me, how many management positions have you held to date? And then please indicate the number. So let's just do one that's a bit quicker. We're just going to say 1 level. It's now asking me to give the detail. Okay, what was the position held? Let's say junior team leader. In which company? In company 1, 2, 3. And please indicate the seniority of the position. So in which level of the business? This was in junior management. Please select the time duration. Let's say 1 to 2 years. And how many people are employed at this business? Let's say 50 to 100. And then the last one, it's asking you, will it be possible for you to provide an official positive reference about your success in this position? Yes or no? Fantastic. I've selected yes. And off I go to the next question. Okay, now at this stage, I'm going to stop with the worksheet. You'll see this is the format that each question follows. If there's a sub-skill measurement, that would automatically open. If I have sent a worksheet invitation to a benchmark individual, they will follow the same format, question 1 to 25, exactly as is. They rate the entire skills picture, but they will receive a last section. What is that last section? It's the skills priority section. For this purpose, I also just before the session just set this up. So this individual, he was highlighted as someone that's performing in this specific area in the company, and it's asking him to set his priority skills. Okay, for this, let me log in. Let me just make sure I have his correct email address here. Great. Okay, so I'm now logging in as an individual. And now I need to go and rate a specific priority. Okay. On my personal portal, I will have the request here as well. So if at the start I wasn't selected as a benchmark individual, I just completed the Skillsgrid worksheet, but now I started to perform, the company can then move my results to that benchmark group, and I will have this request on my portal to say, please go and select the priority. We'll see now what that looks like. For today, this is the one we want to update, the one in finance. The worksheet. Part of their worksheet, they will get it as soon as they did question 25. This will populate on the screen. For today, I just showed you the route through the portal as well. They now need to identify the priority for each of the skills level. So regardless of what my admin skill level is, skilled, basic skilled, highly skilled, expert, I now need to tell the system, listen, in my job, please rate the current priority of these skills. So is an administrative skill not necessary, helpful, important, or critical? remember the discussion that Zed had at the start to say, how critical is this skill to perform in the finance role in company 123? So admin, you know what, it's actually quite helpful. Let's say helpful. Business process design, oh, you know what, it's not necessary. Coaching and mentoring, helpful. And let's get to the ones for finance. Oh yeah, finance management skills, that's critical. If I don't have that skill, I can't do the job. Computer literacy skill is very important. Most of the things I do is on a computer platform, and off we'll go and we'll mark all 25 of these to say what is the priority for this unique role, not necessary, helpful, important, or critical. The moment I've submitted all of the data and say save, this will then automatically populate on the system. Great. Let's go and see what these results look like on the system. Remember, up until now, ladies and gentlemen, we've looked at the system. I've seen a worksheet. I'm now going to go back into my company, to company 123. Let's just log in. It's telling me I'm not logged in. I just need to log out here. There we go. And just the correct password here. I'm now logging back into company 123. So let's switch our hats again. Who am I at this stage? I am the system administrator for this company. Back to our main screen. Let's go and see what the results look like live on the system. Let's go into sales. Same as in Shadow Match, we now invited someone. Now we want to start looking at these results. I'm going to start at our benchmark. So each individual we indicated as the top performers in this position completed the worksheet and they set the priority of the skills. And on the system, it's represented very nice and effective in a visual manner. Let's hide our slide menu. This is what a Skillsgrid benchmark would look like. The benchmark is unique per specific role and per the specific data that contributes to this. In sales, they've identified the following 3 individuals as the top performers in the role, individually completed it, individually set the priorities, and now the system did the check again to say, okay, across the bank, I can see it's needed at this level and what is the priority. How do I read this graph? By help of the key. So the key to the right shows me the number of blocks that are filled in this graph. That is the skills level. If it's just one block, it's now limited all the way to the top where it's expert. And the second element is then the priority to say the color or the gray intensity of that specific block. Is it not needed, helpful, important, or critical? Example, let's say musical skills. There isn't anything here, so I know it's not needed. It's not needed in the role of sales, whereas the skill of selling skill is a critical skill. It's the dark gray all the way to an expert level. This you can then obviously set up per area. For now, we're looking at sales. The moment we have our benchmark, same as in Shadow Match, we can now start comparing. For this, I'm switching to my employees. And now I'm seeing the list of everybody in this area. If I want to, with one click of a button, see what is the closest alignment of the skills of that individual to the benchmark for this role, I simply click here. And now it's ranking it for me from the closest alignment skills-wise to the ones where there are different skills intensities. Let's look at an example. I'm choosing this individual, clicking on his results. And now, ladies and gentlemen, you will see something funky happen there on the screen. We have a very nice new blue graph now overlain over the benchmark. Just quickly want to hide that benchmark for us before we unpack that. This is what an individual skills grid results look like. It's not compared to anything, but Chip has a perfect visual representation to say, this is the level of my skills, the area I'm skilled in. I'm an expert skill in these areas, a bit of a softer skill on this side. And if we scroll down, all of the data and details he captured whilst completing the worksheet is captured here next to his assessment. See, you also completed the management skill, sub-skill. There's these areas and the detail that you need. So you have access to this live and interactive for everybody. Let's go and put our benchmark back again. And now let's see what the system is telling us. Visually, I can immediately see, but listen, the individual skill, the blue and the gray, where's the biggest areas where it's different? There we go. We see, okay, presentation is actually what a critical skill at an expert level, but this individual is only skilled. So that's our first area where we would focus our development. Imagine how nice it would be, ladies and gentlemen, if you need to start planning your development and training for the year, and you know exactly where should we focus on, because this is the reason why this individual might be struggling in this role. So let's help him to develop that skill, and we can focus it in the right area instead of just blanket performance managing or whatever the other option would be. As with Shadow Match, you can now compare different individuals to it and compare different individuals to different areas. For this, I'm going back to my employees list. And I'm just going to select a different result. Let's say this individual here. And now we see, okay, he's a 7 out of 10 matches skills-wise, but there is an area that's not exactly aligned. Let's see what is the detail. All right, the blue is the individual, the gray is the benchmark. There is our areas that we need to develop those skills a bit stronger. Isn't there somewhere else in the business that this individual's unique skill set actually fits immediately in a better alignment? For that, I multi-match. Where do I find multi-match in my skills system? Underneath the actions of this individual, I then choose this option, Skillsgrid multi-match. If I click on Skillsgrid multi-match, it's now matching this individual's unique skills to all of my other benchmarks on the system. So if I created the entire picture, everything from admin all the way through to sales, to say what are the unique skills and priority of these skills in each of my unique roles. With one click of a button, I can say, okay, do you know what? Maybe in the area that we focused on, there's a softer alignment, but look at him in this area. It's perfectly aligned to what the skills are. And if I click on that, I'll be able to see his match against that specific benchmark to say, no red robots, there's a better alignment for skills. So if we move him into that position, it's going to be quick and easy. The training will be a lot less because he already has the correct skills level. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can do the opposite of this as well. So that was to say we have this individual, let's compare him against our roles. Now we want to say, listen, if we know the skills set up for a specific role, please show me which of the individuals that already have the skills makeup. For that, I'm going into a different department, let's say business development, and I go to the benchmark. The benchmark, as we said, that's the unique combination of skills needed to perform in this role. I now choose the option here to say multi-match for me. If I multi-match, I'm asking the system to find all of the individuals and tell me what is the closest alignment who already has this specific skills set up. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in Skillsgrid, it is possible for you to create that unique benchmark. Remember what Lizette said in the introduction, it's always going to be a better and a more valuable approach to ask your top performers to give you the insight. Because you might think you know what are the skills they need to do the job, but their data will show you the accurate level of those skills to say, you know what, I actually use negotiation skills every day, and you never realized I did that if you are not in that specific role. If you, however, have a specific mandate where you say, listen, I have a unique combination of skills that I'm going to need in a specific position. You as the system administrator, so either or HR or management or anybody involved in that project, you can then request the benchmark worksheet to say, let's set that setting at the specific skills that we need. You set that priority specifically to what you need in this position. And once you've created that benchmark, you can do exactly this to say, I know what are the unique skills that I'm searching for. Please show me who has this in my company. So just think about how quick and easy that makes the process. Instead of you having to go and investigate and interview and guess what are the skills. If you have that skills benchmark set up according to your requirements, and you use this option to get the model, you can say, These individuals we can immediately move into that position or use for that project because they already have that combination of skills. Great. Okay. One of the last things I want to show you is the export. Now, this is where you are able to actually do that skills audit instantly, to say, give me all of this data into one consolidated file that I can start planning and making decisions with this data. So I'm back on my main screen. Let's just deselect the poor individual there. I'm back on my main screen, and now I'm going to request an export of data. Where do I find this? In my left main menu, you will see the option there, export data. I can export at any level. I'm now at my highest level. I'm seeing the entire company. So if I select export data here, you would see it's telling me it's going to export the data for company 1, 2, 3. If I just need a specific sub area finance, if I go into finance, I can only grab that export for finance. Look at the very nice options you can select from your export. Obviously, the standard details, the names and everything, but you can now say, okay, show me that match to the benchmark. Show me what is the recommendation and show me the skills gap. I'll show you what that looks like in the spreadsheet itself. You can select the benchmark indicators, all of the specific skills levels for all of the specific skills, as well as the sub skills. The moment you click download, you have that export and it's downloaded to your device. Let's go and see what this looks like. Okay. Here I have an export of a company, also company 1, 2, 3. So it's the standard data, my recommendation score, but the area I want to show you is this one. It's skills gap, the skill or skills with the biggest difference lower than the benchmark. And for each individual, it's showing you their specific skills development requirement. So if I do this and then start planning to say, you know what, I pick up that everybody has a gap with computer literacy as a rule. So we should make that part of our onboarding process, that you get that skill and you strike the iron while it's hot and not when it's progressed and the training delayed. Or whatever the specific areas are, you can then plan and develop the skills according to the needs. Okay, the last thing I want to show you on the system is those custom sub skills. So we saw the standard sub skills, and obviously we just looked at one of the skills there. But if you have a specific sub skill that you want to add in one of the skills areas, where do you go and do that? You go to the department and you say, for finance or for sales or which area, let me go and add it. For this, I open up my top menu and I choose the option to say edit this specific file. Now, once again, ladies and gentlemen, you can set this up at the highest level to say everybody in company 1, 2, 3 that receives a Skillsgrid worksheet should all receive this area. Or if it's specific to a department, something like finance, it's just a specific finance skill. I can go and set it up here. Let's choose that option. I say edit finance. Now it's opening up the back working of this specific file. And I want to go and edit my worksheet settings. I select this option, scrolling down, this is a lot of other data on the screen. The one we're going to focus on today is this one, my custom sub skills. Here I have all of my steps on my screen. Let's see what they are. Step 1, select the headline skill from the drop-down list. Great. Here's my headline skills. Here's my drop-down list. If I now, for instance, as in our example, have a very specific computer program that we use within the company, and I want to add that to the computer literacy sub-skill list, I select computer literacy. Okay, what was step 2? Enter the sub-skill text as it will be shown on the worksheet. So I can say exactly what I want the program. Obviously, the program will have a name. This is our unique program's name there. Step 3, click save at the bottom of this page to save all captured sub-skills. I'm just going to select one option here. Let me just see, just one sub-skill for the purpose of the demo. I can obviously add as many as needed. Look at that step 4 though. Await approval from the Skillsgrid team. So what happens the moment I click save? The Skillsgrid team will be notified to say, I want to add this specific sub-skill. Ladies and gentlemen, this extra step is there just to approve the credibility of the worksheet. That something isn't added that isn't actually a sub-skill part of that specific skill. So we will then review to say, yes, that makes sense. This is something that is needed there. The moment I click save, the step 4 will happen and you will automatically receive approval of that sub-skill the moment it's been reviewed to say it does make sense to add it there. This is also to eliminate duplication. Maybe it is already on that standard set of sub-skills and you maybe missed it, but we just make sure the worksheet actually makes sense. The standard worksheet already has all of the sub-skills you probably are going to use, but that custom sub-skill option is there if you have specific unique sub-skills you want to focus on. So please go and test it out for yourself, but you're probably actually never going to need to use that option. Okay, let me just check. We did that. The last thing I want to show you is that seamless integration. So company 123, the one we used for the demo, is just a shadow match client or just a Skillsgrid client. So you will see everything was blue. We just focused on the Skillsgrid data. What if the client signs up for both systems? Then it will look like this. Pretty nice, pretty seamless. I'm logging out, logging into a different company. There we go. This is company set, also fictitious data. Look at what happens on their screen. Do you see they have both maroon and blue, showing you here at the top, they have access to everything. So I can see everything together. I can just see my shadow match data or just see my Skillsgrid data. And if I go into a specific file, I can then either access the shadow match benchmark, or if I'm working with the Skillsgrid data, and all of my results have everything integrated together. So I can see all of my individuals, where are the shadow match results and where are the Skillsgrid results for everybody. Let me log out here and stop sharing my screen. Just a last comment before I hand over back to Lizette. Ladies and gentlemen, Skillsgrid is always live. So you will remember Lizette referred to that in the introduction. So skills are something that you continuously develop, continuously work on. So the skills grid is designed with that in mind to say, I'm not going to have the same skills I had when I was 18 years old, starting in a company, and when I retire, when I am whatever age. So as I continuously develop my skills, you want to have a continuously updated skills register. So at any stage, I can go into my skills grid worksheet and update that to say, yes, I've now developed this area. I'm now on a more senior level of management, or I focused on computer literacy, did a course, and I'm in the next level. This also makes it possible to review if you're working with your individuals, your employees, and you and the manager have that discussion to say, okay, let's think about the skills. What is our plan? Where are we working towards? You can use the skills grid worksheet as the basis of your discussion to say, here you are day one. What is our 2-year plan or our 3-month plan? Where are we working towards? And what's the action steps we're going to put in place to get that skill level to the next level? We have that nice visual representation to keep on tracking it live. Imagine if you were an individual applying for a position and you could submit your skills profile together with your CV to say, this is me, this is the skills you will receive, this is all of the detail. It makes that process a lot easier. Lizette did say that you would receive an email every 6 months. Every 6 months, you will receive an email from Skillsgrid to say, have you developed skills? Do you want to update, or are you still happy with the skills level? But as an individual at any stage, you can also go in and edit. So you don't have to wait for the 6-month cycle to go and edit it again. It's live at any stage to update it as needed. Okay, Zed, that's all from my side. Let's log back to you to hear about the question.
Thank you very much, Suzanne, and thanks for the walkthrough and thanks for the detailed explanation. That was very good, and I think I'm sure everybody anybody could follow. And obviously we will send the recording afterwards. So if you've missed something or you wasn't sure, just go and watch that part again. And I'm sure you will then be knowledgeable enough to use the skills grid. So Zanny, there were two questions that I'm gonna handle, and then I'm gonna open up to anybody that would like to ask more questions. Carla asked a question, and Carla, thank you very much for that question. That's a question that we actually do get quite often. Carla's question was with regards to people overrating or over-representing themselves and under-representing themselves. So there's two things or three things that I would like to mention there. Firstly, ladies and gentlemen, when the individual receives that worksheet invitation, when you send the invitation from the system as an administrator and it lands in the inbox of the individual, that email actually does say to the individual that be careful when you rate your skills, because you might be required to actually present proof of how you rate yourself. So if you rate yourself as an expert or highly skilled, you might be, if you are required to go for an interview, be asked to actually present the evidence that how you've rated yourself. So we actually do warn the individual. Interestingly, only about 3% of people overrate or overrepresent themselves. About 43% of people underrate or underrepresent themselves. You know, we always think that people are just going to boast about themselves, but our research has shown, and we've also experienced in practice, that people actually rather underrate themselves. And then you've also seen that the system is intelligent. If I do say I'm highly skilled and I go into the sub skills and I start capturing those sub skills, the system senses that that's just not a highly skilled person. This is just a skilled person. So then it actually adjusts the rating upon the completion of the worksheet and the calculations. So there is intelligence in the system to also cross-check to say, but you've rated all the sub skills on basic, but you've said you're highly skilled. No, you're actually just skilled. So the system has got that intelligence as well. And we've experienced with companies using Skillsgrid that actually I have never experienced somebody that says, yo, this person came for an interview and they were way overrated than what they actually are. It's actually the opposite. So thanks for that question, Carla. And then the second question was from Joe with regards to benchmark size. With Skillsgrid, the system will not stop you when you use one person for a benchmark. So you can actually just use one individual. And Suzanne also explained that quite nicely. You know, if it's a new role or something that you need specific skills for a specific job, maybe in a project team or whatever role that is in business analyst in the business, you can, as an HR administrator, HR manager, line manager, project manager, actually take a worksheet invite and complete that Skillsgrid worksheet with the skills that you are looking for in mind. So you can just use one person as a benchmark. Obviously, it's recommended that you always use between 3 to 10 people, because yes, Joe did actually highlight the fact that it is more valid if you use more top performers, because then the system obviously works with the algorithms and looks at what's the commonalities between these 3 or 5 or 10 top performers. And the size of your benchmark will obviously depend on the size of your division. If your division is larger, you will use more people in the benchmark. If your division is smaller, you can obviously get away with fewer people in your benchmark. I know Joseph posed a question. Good potential. Which sectors are using this most effectively? What are they using it for? How would this be most effectively integrated into a manual recruitment process? Joseph, thank you very much. This can be used in any sector. We've had insurance companies using it. We've got some of the academic institutions using it. We've got small to medium enterprises using this. Can be used in any instance, because in all jobs, even in sports, we look at people's skills. Are they skilled to do the job? So it's really open to any industry. And in a recruitment process, the best would obviously be to advertise your vacancy, and then before the person come for the interview, you let them you obviously have your benchmark set up in your company. So you've got your top performer shadow match benchmark and your top performer Skillsgrid benchmark. And then for the candidate or the applicant, before they come for the interview, you would send them a shadow match worksheet invite. You would send them a Skillsgrid worksheet invite. And then, ladies and gentlemen, if the person is a complete mismatch, it's probably not clever to then spend time and energy on an interview, because you are going to set that individual up for failure. It's not fair towards that individual to recruit them into your business or into your department if they're not a match. If they are a match, before you've even interviewed, then you can interview the person, use the shadow match interview pack, and then the interview that you do is actually an informative interview, because you've got a Skillsgrid profile of the person, you've got a shadow match profile of the person, so you already know a lot about this person when you engage in the interview process. So it obviously, you can use it in banking, mining, engineering, medicine, training, lecturing, software. So as I said, the usage and the environments and the industries is actually endless. Susanne, I see there's another question. If you want to look at Koos's question, and then I'm just going to unmute everybody so that they can actually ask the questions live. I'm going to mute myself, Susanne, and then you can handle that.
Okay, thanks, Suzette. Thanks, Chris, for the comment. I see he says the findings with regards to overestimation goes against the Dunning-Kruger effect. Okay, interesting effect there. I'm not familiar with that effect personally, but it's interesting. His comment then said, so the prompting before the worksheet works well. So yes, Chris, if I understand that your comment correctly, that's exactly the thinking, to say the information the individual receives before the completing the worksheet is, please remember, you will be asked specific evidence of these skills if it's critical for that position. And this is, remember, ladies and gentlemen, what it provides you is the opportunity to have insight into that. Without Skillsgrid, you would go blindly into the interview process. And just as I can inflate my CV and tell you I'm very OLEC in various areas, and you don't vet that information, the same then with Skillsgrid. You have that information, you can get the detail of it. And if I rated myself as an expert presentation giver, that's critical for the position. I would urge the company then to ask me to give a presentation as part of the interview process. So you would obviously fit that into the entire process. If there are capabilities that need to be assessed, if there's specific competencies, specific exams, specific qualifications, all of that should be addressed. Once you have the entire picture, the picture we started with at the start, I know, I can, I fit, you can then determine what is the potential for success in that role. The skills grid is one of the tools you will be used, specifically focusing on I can. And if you want more detail about that aspect, I urge you to use skills grid, and then you have that resource. But you can then decide for every aspect, for I know, how intricate are we going in, what is our processes according to that, for I can, as well as I fit, and everything applicable to that role. Okay, thanks, Suzette. Back to you.
Thanks, Susanne. I think Susanne made an important point, ladies and gentlemen, that, and I think that links to what Joseph's comment and question was, that just imagine yourself doing an interview with an individual without any of this information. And imagine yourself doing an interview with an individual with all of this information. Because now I can ask intelligent questions, and I can actually say, but I see that you are an expert, as Susanne said in presentation. When you come for the interview, will you prepare a 10-minute presentation on X, Y, and Z, if it's, for example, for a sales position? So I have a lot of information already, so I can now intelligently interview that person, where if I don't have that information, I actually go blind into this interview. So that's also the purpose of the I can and I fit part in workplace success and in recruitment. The knowledge part I can teach, but if I can check the other two before I even start, and then elaborate on that and ask more questions about that in the interview, gives me a very powerful position, being HR or being management, when I actually recruit people into my business. I have enabled you to unmute yourself, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome to just unmute yourself or just raise your hand. I see a few faces. Otherwise, you can just unmute yourself and just start speaking. I'm going to stay quiet for a moment. So if somebody wants to start speaking, you are.
Hello, Lisette. Joseph here again. Hi. Thank you and thank you, Susanne, for all that. That's very good. Thank you. So in the UK here, often when people recruit, they'll have the application form, they'll have an assessment center, which will look at, some of it is examples of the kind of work one will be doing, and that's what they'll test. How do you think that this would compare with that? So because you're looking at behavior and you're looking at skills, and the other one, they're testing the skills. Do you think, I mean, from what your experience, which one would be more effective? I'm thinking of speaking to people about this, and then I know they'll be comparing it to what we do now is test people on the actual skills and maybe their personality, MBTI, or any of the other tests. What do you think?
Thanks, Joseph. Thanks for your question. It's not the one or the other. I think that the testing of skills is very often your in-basket exercises and your role plays. So the one actually, in my view, the skills grid will actually precede the testing. So if I let somebody complete skills grid and I can see what have they rated themselves on, what are their skills, I would obviously then go to the next steps where I practically then test the skills, where I practically then ask them, well, write an email and write a report and, you know, do a presentation or do a speech or whatever that the job is that they've actually applied for. So in an assessment center, normally they make use of a battery of assessments, and we are not replacing necessarily. This is complementary, and the same with Shadow Match. Shadow Match works complementary. MBTI measures personality. We don't measure personality. We measure behavioral patterns and the intensity in those behavioral patterns. So we've seen in South Africa where clients don't throw out their assessments, but they add Shadow Match as an additional assessment. And the beauty of Shadow Match and Skills Grid is that in a recruitment process, and specifically where you recruit large numbers of people, it's best to fit Shadow Match and Skills Grid right at the beginning of your process, before you even interview, because that's how that helps you to create shortlists and to then get people into your environment that's already a match and that you know will fit your context and will have the skills that's necessary for success in your environment. And then you go through the recruitment process, and then very often as part of the recruitment process, once you've done the initial screening and assessments to create your shortlist, you then do more practical stuff where you say, okay, but now illustrate those skills, now do X, Y, and Z, so that I can see that this actually matches what you've said and what we need in the working environment. I hope that answers your question, Joseph. Suzanne, I don't know if I see you've been nodding. I don't know if you want to add anything to that comment. Not necessarily. Ladies and gentlemen, any other questions? Great. I see it's after the hour. So I'm just going to say, in the webinar, I'm going to say thank you very much for your attendance. It was great having you. It's great seeing the same people, and it's great seeing some new faces. Wonderful. Please know that we have a next webinar on Tuesday. We've only next week, is not on the Wednesday, it's on the Tuesday. It's the same time, however, it's 3 p.m. South African time. And the webinar on Tuesday is all about the study report. It's a new addition to the whole suite. It's a new report, and that webinar will focus on the content, the thinking, as well as how to use that study report. So we're looking forward to seeing all of you there. It's, again, as with all the others, you can go to events and you can book your seat there. So thank you very much. Have a great afternoon, a great day if it's still morning by you, and then we'll see all of you next week. Thank you very much.